Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here. Again, I think I was invited like half a year ago already, and this is a very good format and very high level, so I very much appreciate being here. And I think this discussion also shows that the circular economy is really advancing also in Romania from a kind of niche environmental topic into, a major issue for the economy, a transformative issue. And in Romania, even though Romania is still, still a little bit at the back of the development in the EU, if we look at the data, but we do also see a lot of developments happening in terms of, on the government level. We have the adoption of the National Circular Economy Strategy, of course, the action plan being discussed this week, as we heard. On the municipal level, there are also good developments, and equally on the industry and business side, which are the representatives here today. And to be quite honest, with the introduction of this guarantee return system in the course of this year, Romania is actually ahead of the pack in view of other EU countries. So this is a very, very good development, of course, given that this introduction goes smoothly. But let me give you a short presentation about a report we published on Romania. I hope you can see the slides. Please let me know if you can't. Great, thank you. So this is a diagnostic analysis of Romania's circular economy that we have undertaken recently together with other countries. We've done the same for Bulgaria and for Poland. The Bulgarian and Polish reports are due to be published later this month. The Romania report was the first one published. Just to give you an idea of the approach, the core of the report is a SWOT analysis, as well as some recommendations for priority action. So this kind of prioritization was essential in this exercise. Very important to stress that this is the result of a substantial stakeholder survey. We interviewed some 50 stakeholders in Romania from the public and the private sector, NGOs, academia, and so on. So this is quite a representative approach. Let me start with the state of the circular economy in Romania. As you all know, Romania is the least circular member state in the EU. You can see this here on the left panel, that the circular material use rate in Romania is only about 1.4%, which also means that more than 98% of the materials used in Romania actually eventually go to waste, which of course is an additional problem because Romania has also one of the highest landfilling rates in the EU, and landfilling is, if you want, the least circular way to treat waste. It is at the very bottom of the waste hierarchy, which is the basis for EU waste management. So, but not everything looks dull, let's say. There are also lots of strengths and opportunities that Romania shows. There is a high potential for circularity that the stakeholders see. It is seen as a driver of innovation, a niche for businesses to develop. And so this is very positive for business. The understanding for circular economy is also increasing. It is still widely viewed as a waste management issue, but actually, the core aspects of circularity, also in terms of recycling and going beyond recycling to reusing waste and repairing and so on. So this is gaining traction. Of course, the National Circular Economy Strategy provides the long-term vision that was missing before. So this is very important, and the action plan seems to be a very comprehensive document, kind of leading the way forward. There are many other positive issues. Positive is also the fact that the EU continues to be a driver for policy in Romania. And this is very important. It was mentioned before, of course, that the strategy and the action plan are part of the NRRP, but of course they go beyond that eventually. But yet the EU is a driver for that, not only in terms of policy, but also in terms of funding. Let me just say a few words about the weaknesses. There is a very strong focus on waste management still in Romania, which is this kind of end of pipe approach. And of course, the circular economy is much more than that. It also relates to kind of upstream issues like waste reduction, waste prevention, and so on. So this is very important. The implementation of strategies is still lacking due to weak monitoring, reporting, and enforcement, and improvements should be should be made there. The low public awareness is another issue. And of course, the low demand for green products. This is very, very important for businesses, of course. You know, I think it has been mentioned before, the green public procurement can actually make a change there. And also what Mr. Bobli said, Romania is addressing the shortage of environmental specialists, but this shortage is still holding back the transition because the capacities in terms of environmental specialists are still low. Finally, let me come to the conclusion of this report, which outlines some kind of potential areas of engagement. Of course, waste management will remain a focus of circular economy policies in Romania, extending separate collection of waste and further developing waste treatment infrastructure, including for bio-waste, is essential also for meeting EU-wide targets. As you know, Romania has received this early warning report in June of this year from the European Commission. So this is essential, but the circular economy goes beyond waste management. So the further development of business models for reusing and repairing materials is essential and should be supported. Economic instruments are already there in Romania, but in many instances not at the sufficient level. So we will see the guarantee return system introduction later this year. Pay-as-you-throw exists, but could be expanding. The landfill tax exists, but it is rather low. So more incentives for the economy to become more circular are essential. The fourth point, capacity building, has been touched upon more. The implementation of EU legislation could be further enforced. And a point I like to stress in particular is the sixth point here is better information. So this relates to the data availability, the reliability of existing data, but also in terms of setting up dashboards and kind of data systems where companies, for example, can refer to if they're looking for best practices. You know, what have other companies done? What are the barriers that companies faced and how were they overcome? So in order to facilitate private sector development. And finally, very important is to set up a materials exchange platform. This is really to create a market for secondary raw materials and to make the demand for secondary raw materials meet the supply in order to create higher rates of circularity in the Romanian economy. This is the report in a nutshell. You can find the link here. I'm sure the organizers can share this with you. I look forward to your questions, and if you have any questions, you can also ask me bilaterally anytime. We're there for you. Thank you.
Mulțumim, domnule Behrens, pentru această prezentare. Ați vorbit, ați atins această temă, poate, sau cu siguranță, pe parcursul prezentării. Dar aș vrea, poate, foarte scurt, să mai sintetizați, din punctul de vedere al business-ului, care considerați că sunt aturile României pentru a atrage investiții în economie circulară și în fabrici de reciclare. Mulțumesc!
The potential is there in many sectors, and I mean, it's also partly because in many areas, Romania is still at the very beginning of this transition. So, whether this is in waste management, in the plastic sector, in construction and demolition waste, which is one of the largest waste streams, in textiles, I mean, all of these sectors have been mentioned before. There are so many potentials that can be reaped, and the private sector will play the key role in this transition. You know, private sector is essential. It will not happen, this transition, without the private sector, but governments have to set the kind of frameworks. And maybe also related to that, I would like to point you to another publication that we have tabled late last year. It's a circular economy report for the whole European Union. It's called Squaring the Circle. And in this report, we present a framework constituting of 4 different aspects that governments need to focus on. And that is really on institutions, on providing a cohesive institutional and legal framework, on providing information to firms, to governments, but also to consumers, of course. A lot of this depends on the incentives. I mentioned the economic instruments before. There are, of course, many others than landfill taxes and pay-as-you-throw systems. Tax exemptions, for example, for circular activities are essential to drive the transition. And finally, finance, of course, plays a big role in the transition. So in Romania, there is a lot of finance available, actually, from the European Union, from different programs of the EU. Let alone the NRRP, but also the Just Transition Funds, LIFE, Horizon Europe, and so on. So there are many programs that can be, drawn upon. But of course, the absorption of funds remains an issue, and that's something that will continuously need to be addressed in order to move on. But a very last point on this, also on finance, is really also on assuring that we remove finance from linear activities. The World Bank in a recent report has shown that some $506 billion is spent every year on fossil fuels globally. And this kind of finance actually, holds back the circular transition. So removing financing from linear activities and, supporting circular activities is essential for driving the transition. And this is the same in Romania.